Sometimes it's possible that something can be so overhyped that when you finally get around to experiencing it for yourself, it just completely flops. Sometimes something can be that overhyped and yet still impress you. Hi, my name is Michael Knipp, and I'm here to tell you about my first experience reading Fredrik Backman. Backman is a big name on BookTube in the circles that I follow, the friends that I have, and most of his books sound like complete tearjerkers, like the kind that would just destroy me inside and out. Big booktubers like Murphy Napier state Backman is their favorite author, and books like A Man Called Ove and the one that's like Every Day the Journey Home Gets Longer, something like that. Those are books that I hear talked about a lot as big books. Around with the series of books that includes Beartown, like Backman gets a lot of love on BookTube. So when I saw that one of the books for the Book of the Month pick this month was a new Fredrik Backman book called Anxious People, I was like, hey, there's never been another time than now to give it a shot, right? Especially because when I looked for the synopsis of this book, it seemed like it was maybe humorous instead of just gut-wrenchingly sad. And that synopsis included something like a bank robber ends up in an accidental hostage situation and hijinks ensue. My book of the month is still coming in the mail, but thanks to Libro FM, I was able to listen to the audiobook early and I binged it like crazy in a way that I just don't binge audiobooks normally because this book was beautiful. Like right away, probably the first 10% into the book, maybe an hour into the audiobook. That's not how math works. I don't know. I was completely captivated by the voice of the author, the way that he brought hilarity into the characters' lives, as well as the way that he just seemed to see through all of the guises that people have into their core of their being and what makes them tick. And over the course of the book Anxious People, we get to know so many different people from so many different backgrounds, but they all have one important thing in common: imperfection in humanity. One of the most important aspects of Anxious People is I feel like if everyone in the world read this book and we took some of the lessons that Backman is sort of bringing out, we might live in a better world. Because as much as humanity shares as a common thread between all of us, we have become a society obsessed with trying to make everyone conform to exactly what we want them to be and how we want them to be. But if we actually spend time to get to know people and find out what makes them tick and why they are the way they are, the background that they have, and the logic they have for making the choices that they do, logical or illogical, we might all find, if not a common ground, some sort of empathetic way to attach ourselves to other people. This story is beautiful and it's told in a hilarious sort of non-linear timeline, jumping between lots of different characters at multiple different time periods, and we get to explore the lives of every single one of the hostages in the hostage drama, the bank robber, the policeman that arrived at the scene to try to take care of the situation. We get to see every angle and we get to understand the motivations and desires of all of these characters, and it's just gut-wrenchingly beautiful while also being cynically hilarious. And I don't know how to describe just how wonderful Backman is at presenting all of these things together in the same package. I don't feel like I could recommend this book strongly enough, but just in case it sounds like I'm being too hyperbolic, let me bring it back down to reality. This book covers all of these different characters. It is telling the story of this hostage drama and bank robbery, but at the same time, it's really about getting to know these characters and finding out as much as possible about their lives and how they interconnect and how they differ. Which is to say, the pacing is extremely weird. The tone is all over the place in a way that I think is beautiful and real and raw, but also might be super jarring for people. Also, because of the scattershot nature of the way you're being told this story, if you are trying to latch on too much to the bank robbery plot, it's gonna be lost for significant periods of time. And because you're jumping around into every one of these characters' life stories, it's gonna seem a little meandering. You're gonna feel a little bit lost. I think that completely fits what I believe Backman is trying to get in this story, which is just trying to get shreds of empathy for fellow human beings, even though we are all so different in so many ways. But I could definitely see how that could bother people. I just think it's totally worth pushing through. Having having never read a Backman book before, the prose style that he chooses is extremely interesting because he has a voice as the narrator himself, which the only thing that I can think of to compare it to is like the Lemony Snicket series of Unfortunate Events books, where Lemony Snicket himself is sort of telling you this story and commenting on aspects of the story along the way, because you're seeing the characters' thoughts, you're seeing the way that everyone reacts to them, and then you're getting a lot of beautiful exposition on human nature from Backman himself, and it's unique in a way that I don't see other authors write. I also don't read a lot of contemporaries. If you've checked out this channel, most of the things that I talk about are epic fantasy, but I have got to check out some more Backman after this. I've convinced my wife to read this as soon as possible. I feel like when the physical copy, when my Book of the Month copy actually finally arrives, I'm going to need to sit there and actually use tabs and take quotes down, because there is just some absolutely gorgeous prose and conclusions drawn about the state of relating to other people on a deeper level and understanding that we're all different and we're all the same in so many ways that are different, in ways that make us unique, and the same in ways that should make us empathize with each other and want to help each other out. It's not a very long book, and like I said, it is meandering, but I just had to binge it because I wanted to know what was going to happen, and I wanted to see the ways that this came together. It comes together in a beautifully comic and heartwarming way that's like a little bit like a Hallmark movie, but with a little extra literary punch in there. Just, man. Good night, it's a good book. I would recommend this book to anyone who just wants to read something that might give them a slight bit of hope, and also for people that don't seem to be able to understand why people can be so different, why they can live. We live in a world where sometimes we get so locked into our own ideal of the way that other people should be that we don't even spend time listening to other people and finding out why they're different than us and how that's okay, how that makes sense. Anxious People is just such a sweet and poignant story. I can't recommend it enough. If you're the type of person who just doesn't care about that sort of thing, you probably wouldn't like it. If you're the type of person that cares about a super heavy narrative, you probably wouldn't like it. If you're the type of person that wants, a thriller or a murder mystery or a crime mystery or whatever, obviously it is not those things, even though it semi-purports itself to be, though you could quickly tell early on that it's not actually what it's about. But if you want something where the author is going to look into your soul and tell you things about yourself and your parents and your family and your friends that you've always known but never been able to express yourself, to be able to speak the feelings that you have better than you've ever been able to for yourself, Fredrik Backman's Anxious People can do that for you. Hopefully in the way that it did it for me. If I were to check out another Fredrik Backman book, what would you recommend I read next? Is it going to destroy my soul? Real quick, if you asked, did I cry in this book? No tears came out. Did I tear up? Quite a few times. Have you read Anxious People? Is this something that you were excited to read? Have you heard other people talk about it? Please let me know in the comments down below. If you like this video, please leave a thumbs up. I'd like to once again thank Libro FM for giving me access to this book. If you don't know what Libro FM is, this isn't really a sponsored video, but they did give me access to this book. Libro FM is like an Audible alternative where it's a source for you to get your audiobooks and a cool digital app similar to Audible. The only difference is that the money that you use for your subscriptions and your purchases, you can have a percentage of that actually go to your local bookstore, and you can pick your local bookstores from a list, and that is awesome. It is a way to buy digital and still support the brick and mortar stores in your area. Libro FM has a really, really good and really cool goal as a company, and I really dig that. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you'd like to discuss things more and more in depth than just the YouTube comments down below, there is a link down in the description for my Discord server, which is available for everybody. And if you'd like to support me, there's also a link for my Patreon where we do buddy reads and other interesting things that I do for my patrons. You can check that out down below as well. I hope you guys are all having a wonderful week and this video brought you joy in some way. If you're in the United States, I hope that you were able to enjoy a Labor Day celebration with friends or family. Thank you for watching. I love every one of you. Go be excellent to each other.
No one ever get enough. Always looking out tired. Sleep. No one ever get enough. If I don't show up, I might get fired. Sleep. No one ever get enough. Always looking, I'm tired, sleep. No, I never get enough. If I don't show up, I might get fired.